Hello everybody, it's Max McAllister here today with a sort of a public service type announcement of a problem a Goldwing owner in the UK had that he kind of shared with me his problem and what eventually was the cure, because it's something I'd never heard of. But once I saw the problem and what the cure was, I felt like it would be helpful to let as many people with Goldwings know about this potential problem with their bike. And this is a major electrical problem. And so this was a fellow named Philip Barker from the UK who asked me if I'd ever heard of it, and I gave him almost useless advice because I'd never heard of this symptom. And it was going to take a while to get his bike into the shop for a significant diagnosis, and he actually was able to get with the dealer in Honda UK and the dealer Miles Kingsport, who helped him find the fault and get it fixed. And I guess Honda UK was very helpful in getting the repair made, the cost covered, and his motorcycle picked up and dropped off and everything. So that's kind of nice to hear. But here's what happened. When he would turn on, he had a 2021 DCT. When he would turn it on, the dashboard would flash the 5 snowflakes. If you've ever seen those, you may or may not have seen those, which would go off after a few seconds. I think those snowflakes also appear if you need to do the DCT initialization process, if something's happened where your bike's been reset. So anyway, he said, then one morning the snowflakes stayed on. The stereo stopped, as did being able to adjust the suspension, the fog lights, the heated grips, the heated seat, the TPMS, the odometer stopped, engine information stopped, engine mode information stopped, and the satellite navigation was blank. The fuel gauge continued working, and the motorcycle itself and ran, and the gears and it shifted, and that all worked fine. They ran a diagnostic at a local dealer and couldn't find the problem. But here's with the help of Honda UK, I guess they've maybe run into this problem a little before, so they knew where to go. Problem comes underneath your left side cover near your main fuse panel. There's the fuse panel on the bike, and there's 2 main fuses here right next to your battery. These are, there's a 20 amp and a 30 amp fuse here. These 2 main fuses are what's running the whole bike. So that's coming right from the main power from the battery, and then that wire goes up into your fuse panel and connects and powers the fuse panel, which is then distributing power to the whole motorcycle. The problem that happens to this guy, I've asked him about this, but I hadn't heard back, and I'm just going to do this video. But here's his actual personal main fuse blocks there, main fuse connectors. And here's what had happened. They had corroded so badly that the copper would be simply ate up, dissolved, and the main wires going to the main fuses broke off of that connector. So this connector had to be replaced, and the wiring connectors replaced, and all of that fixed. Now, that stuff is just simply open to the environment. So judging by that level of corrosion, which is extreme, I'm going to guess that he rides his motorcycle year-round, as many people in Europe do, and that maybe he's riding on salted roads, or he lives right on the ocean, but somewhere where there's lots of corrosive stuff, because I would call that pretty abnormal. But if you wanted to inspect this on your bike, I haven't tried this yet, but there isn't any slack on that little wire there, so to speak of. There's just a little push connector thing to get it loose from the little battery tray. But we're going to take this decorative cover off real quick. So you do that by pushing these 2 push pins out. And there's a 10mm head bolt down in there to take off. And underneath is one little star drive screw in a rubber well nut. So we actually just use this same little Torx driver tool to poke out the two Honda rivets. And then this kind of just pulls off. There's nothing tricky or overlap about it. So here's what we're looking at here. Now, there's not real much slack to speak of on this to twiddle with it. I wouldn't push and pull on it too hard, but you know, you can tilt in that way and see the connectors. You fold it over, like, you know, mine are brand new. This bike is 2018, so it's, you know, more than 5 years old or more, and it has a whopping 1,500 miles on it. So I've really been out there putting in the miles on this bike. So that's where you would look. Now, if you happen to live in a very saltwater, you know, corrosive environment, or you ride your bike year round, I wouldn't go yanking on this too much until you give it a gentle inspection and see what's up. Now, you know, the let's fix this problem guy in me looks at this and figures, you know, how could we help people with this? You know, it's if your bike is brand new and in good shape, I would say you could take a couple of small Ziploc bags and put them right over the top of that and rubber band it, and then push that little connector right back into the box there, and you'd probably be okay. You know, my only concern is moisture staying inside the plastic bags. So, you know, maybe you poke a couple of holes in the top of it just to vent it a little bit so, you know, moisture could eventually escape. But as far as this just being open to the road, you see this protective wrap Honda's got around this, because these are big main power wires. You know, that'll, you know, if I say, hey, you should, you know, make sure you wash this while you're washing your bike, you know, you'll get water in there, but you're going to get water in there when you drive down the road regardless. So, you know, unless Honda has some drain in that wiring harness that I don't know about, you're just going to have water in there, down in there. Although that's not necessarily bad in any way. But what is bad is obviously having a lot of salty water on the bottoms of these fuse blocks here. So if you're in that environment and you know it, I would try and make it a point to clean this, to hose this stuff every so often. Now, if you actually had to get it out to repair it, we were kind of looking at that. The first and absolutely most important thing you would have to do is take away your negative ground cable and pull it far, far away from the battery. So there's no chance of it actually popping back and touching while you're messing with this. But you need to take away this power cable going to the fuse block. And by the way, while I'm saying it, you should disconnect the positive battery cable and take the battery out and put it somewhere, because this is a pretty direct shot right from the battery. And if you're pulling the cables loose around the frame, that's just a setup for a disaster. But underneath is some more pinch connectors, and it looks like you could get that harness loose enough to work on it. And it may be that well, we haven't done it and we're not going to fool with it, but I'm just suggesting if you take it loose from the fuse block, there's two pinch connectors there, and it looks like you can pull it out of here. You may have to take the battery box itself loose or out just enough that you can pry up and pull that harness out and have it hanging here off the side. Like say you actually had to repair it, but that remains to be seen. So all I'm doing here with this little public service announcement is alerting you to this problem and giving you something to inspect. As far as going from there, I'm not going to get that deep into it, but just trying to be helpful here. So my name's Max, and speaking of if I've been helpful, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, and please subscribe to my channel, because I do try and have some of this just generally helpful stuff that's non-related to Traxxion Dynamics products every so often, or quite often. So I'd appreciate the subscribe, and I look forward to bringing you more great content soon.